Atlanta Motor Speedway is getting a name change. Spire Motorsports is putting Corey LaJoie back behind the wheel, and Kyle Larson's adventure down under, plug got pulled on it. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. So over the last week, there's been some photos floating around the internet of Atlanta Motor Speedway, and Atlanta Motor Speedway's been taken off the track, and now Echo Park Speedway's been put up. And a lot of fans are wondering, what does this mean? Well, it probably means it's getting a name change if we're going to connect the dots here, and this is a connect the dots type of channel. And on Tuesday, SMI confirmed that they will now be referring to Atlanta as Echo Park Speedway, which does in fact sound like a fictional racetrack, maybe from like a NASCAR Thunder video game or something like that, but fans are going to keep referring to it as Atlanta Motor Speedway. Echo Park is an automotive dealership brand that the Smith family owns, so it's kind of like the money going from the left hand to the right hand and then just putting it back into the pocket here. But regardless, that's what they want to refer to the racetrack as now. And I just don't think fans are going to get behind it that much. I mean, listen, one of the most influential races in NASCAR history happened in Atlanta in 1992. It didn't happen at Echo Park Speedway. And it's always going to be Atlanta. The same way that Guardians fans are always going to call it the Jake, or Bengals fans are always going to call it Paul Brown Stadium, or Steelers fans are always going to call it Heinz, or Astros fans are always going to call it Minute Maid Park. You kind of get what I'm saying here. I mean, has anybody ever referred to Gateway by its actual name, which is Worldwide Technology Raceway? No, absolutely not. It's a ridiculous name. Yeah, we used to have Lowe's Motor Speedway, but a lot of people who weren't being paid by Lowe's still referred to it as Charlotte. Then you had Auto Club Speedway, which is Fontana, or California Speedway if you want to go with that one. Then you have Sonoma, which was previously known as Infineon, which is not a very good name. Before that, it was Sears Point. And even when they changed it back to Sonoma after the deal with Infineon was gone, people are like, yeah, we're headed out to Sears Point still. Phoenix used to be called ISM Raceway, and not a single person seems to remember that one at all, or Jeff Gordon Raceway, depending on which one you want to pick that day. But yeah, corporate sponsorships on racetracks isn't anything new by any means, but don't expect the fan base to hop on board with it and start calling it that at the same time. The same way, you know, with a number of different stadiums around the country, naming rights change, but people are always going to refer to it as, well, what its previous name was. There's a really, really bad Coliseum here in Cincinnati, one that should have been torn down probably before I was born, is where the Who disaster happened at. If you haven't ever read about that, go for it. And I honestly don't even know what its new name is, but growing up, it was always called U.S. Bank Center? Maybe, something like that. It was Riverfront Coliseum before that, but I've always just referred to it as U.S. Bank. I have no idea what the new name of it is, and I don't really care to find out. Same way Paycor Stadium is where the Bengals play. It's always been Paul Brown Stadium, and it will always be Paul Brown Stadium. The same way Atlanta will always be Atlanta Motor Speedway. But hey, they got a new name. They race there at the end of this month. I don't think anything's going to change, but it will be interesting to see if announcers refer to it as Echo Park or not, because I mean, it is the branding rights deal. It is technically its name, but I don't expect any fans to hop on board with that going forward. It will always be Atlanta Motor Speedway. On Monday, we found out that Prime's Corey LaJoie is getting back behind the wheel of a Spire Motorsports vehicle, just not in the Cup Series, but instead he'll be racing in 9 races in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, driving that 07 truck for Spire. Now, this is a bit of a surprise to a lot of people out there because Corey, you know, famously said that he didn't want to race in the Truck Series this year because he didn't want to race in front of 12 people. And I understand the sentiment that he had behind that, basically being like he didn't want to take a step down from Cup, and it's harder to get sponsorship for that than it is in the Cup Series and First Partners. I get behind what he was saying here. Probably should have just been delivered in a little bit better of a way here. And he was offered a pretty good truck at that being the 19 truck over at McAnally, the one that Eck has got out of, the one that Hemrick's in now and won at Martinsville. And he passed on that, and he had his reasons for it, and they were valid enough reasons to do it. But still was a race-winning truck that he passed on. Now he's getting into another race-winning truck, this 07 truck for Spire Motorsports. Spire has speed. We've seen 3 of their trucks go to victory lane now this season between the 7, the 07, and the 71. They can definitely get it done. He definitely will have the speed to get it done as well in those 9 races. He's going to Michigan this weekend, a race that he could absolutely win. He's also got Talladega on the schedule, another race that he could definitely win. And he could maybe finally get that monkey off his back and pick up his first ever win in one of NASCAR's top 3 series. And people would maybe stop talking so much, crap about him. Not that it happened, that helped out Matt Benedetto at all, but hey, at least he says he can say that he's got a 1 in that win column now. For LaJoie, I think this is a good opportunity. I know people want to dunk on him. People want to be like, oh, he's going back down to the truck series. Oh, he can only get a part-time ride. Stuff like that. Oh, the graphic he put out on social was AI generated. He had to make up AI fans. I'm not going to dunk on him because I think this is a good opportunity for him. One, I like the fact that announcers or, current media people still stay relevant, still stay sharp by getting into race cars. I think it's good. Yeah, it's not a cup car by any means, but it's still on-track experience on the same track that the Cup Series will be racing on, the same races that he'll be commenting on here, especially with Michigan this weekend. And I think it's a good thing for him to, have that on-track experience. On the other hand, I think he's a good personality for the sport. I think he's done really well in his TV role so far on the pre- and post-race shows with Prime. And I want to see him stay relevant in the sport. Is he ever going to be a full-time Cup driver again? I don't know. It feels highly unlikely at this point. But if he can go out there and do well in the Spire truck, who knows? Maybe that opens up some other options for him. And also, I think that it's worth noting that he still has a contract with Spire. So when this opportunity kind of opened up, they're like, hey, this ride's open. We're paying you. So we got 9 races for you here as well. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I know people are going to dunk on him. And hey, listen, he's kind of made his bed in a certain way. So he's open to, the criticism that comes to it. But I do think that it's a good thing. I think that he's a veteran. He's smart enough to go down to the truck series and be able to win there. And I think that he should have a good shot this weekend at Michigan as well. It's going to be a drafting race. It's a momentum racetrack. It's a type of track that he's going to excel on with a package that he'll be able to excel with. So yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here to see what he can do. Throwing a race in at the Roval, though, on a Friday afternoon, that's an interesting one. I don't know how that's going to go for him, but hey, we'll see what happens when he gets there. And last story of the day, Kyle Larson was set to head down under to Australia for the Supercars finale at Adelaide at the end of November, well after the end of the NASCAR Cup Series season, but the plug has been pulled on that program. Speed Cafe out of Australia said that after a disastrous double attempt that saw him crash out of both the Indianapolis 500 and the Coke 600, the decision was made to not pursue this wildcard entry at Adelaide any further. And that's really, really disappointing. He was going to be driving for the Premier team. Roland Dane was going to basically guide that entire program. You might remember him from AAA Engineering, the Red Bull car, Shane Van Gisbergen's partner's dad, so technically almost his father-in-law. It was going to be a good program. Sponsorship from Napa. And then ultimately the plug was pulled on it. He was also going to race a sprint car while he was down there. And I'm guessing the decision was to keep his focus on the end of the NASCAR Cup Series season. And it's unfortunate. I wanted to see how he's going to stack up against those supercar guys, because we've seen a number of them come over and race NASCAR in the last few years. Shane Van Gisbergen obviously famously won at Chicago. Cam Waters, Will Brown, Brody Kostecki. They've all come over. I think we're going to maybe get another one this year as well. And it would have been fun to see Larson go down there and see what he could have done. Was he going to win? Absolutely not. Was he going to get a top 10? I think that probably would have felt like a win if he could have done it. But we've seen so many of them come over and do decent. I wanted to see how one of, the NASCAR guys would have stacked up against them. Obviously, it's a type of car that he's not super familiar with. Street racing, he's done it, twice now. So yeah, it's 3 times if you want to count the Xfinity race that he did at Chicago. So yeah, it was going to be a bit of an uphill battle, but it still was going to be fun to watch. But they pulled the plug on it. Kyle Busch was supposed to do it last year, decided not to do it. This year, it's supposed to be Kyle Larson, decided not to do it. They might be getting fed up down in Australia about this, but I do know a guy that races in NASCAR, drives for a Chevy team, a prominent Chevy team at that, does have Napa as a sponsor, and is pretty good on road courses as well. Maybe we send Chase Elliott down to try out this wild card one. I don't know if he'd want to do it. That is a far way away from Georgia, and he typically doesn't ever seem like he wants to leave home. His prerogative. I'm not judging him. Hey, I don't like to leave home sometimes if I don't have to either. But it would be kind of fun to see him go down there. And I know Chase Elliott fans are probably like, yeah, send him down there. See if he works better with their engineers. Maybe he works better with them than he does Allen. Regardless, I want to see NASCAR guys go down there. And unfortunately, Adelaide is really the only one that they're able to go do, just because the Cup Series season is 36, 38 races, if you include the 2 exhibition races in there long. Doesn't leave very much free time. In fact, the only free race that they have is that Adelaide race, unlike the Supercars guys who have a couple of different opportunities to come over and race here if they want to. So yeah, bummer to not see it happen, but maybe we will in the future. Just, man, at this point, wish the double had gone better just so we could have seen this take place. So let me know in the comments what you thought about or think about the Atlanta Motor Speedway name change, Corey LaJoie getting back behind the wheel of a Spire truck, and for Kyle Larson not doing the Supercar wild card race down in Adelaide. So let me know your comments. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at Break Hard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Break Hard Blog.